So in the background there is probably one of the larger home collections I've seen. It's quite impressive, my friend. There's lots of different things. That I love the full size Haro. I saw those at Gundam Base, and I was already maxed out with Kearn.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just take that, but it was just too big. Too big.
Just like wear it as a helmet.
Yeah, you could do, couldn't you? Like, yeah, just nurse all the way back, sort of thing. This is the Gunpla Insider, and tonight we have TheKrowSama. Hey, how you doing? Yep, my name's Tiller. This is the Gunpla Insider. This is for the Gunpla Network. Yeah, we got a couple of sponsors, one of them being Clouded Communications. That supplies my VMR and my kit, so thanks, guys. Now, this gentleman with us tonight, Dennis Kearn, aka TheKrowSama. He's a bit of a YouTuber, there's no doubt about that. Reviews, interviews, things like that. And I just wanted to sort of get Dennis in tonight. And Dennis has a unique situation where he's a US citizen and he lives in Japan. And for some of us, living the dream, building Gunpla in the land of the rising sun. And I just wanted to get him on here tonight and have a bit more of a chat about, you know, what it's like to be that guy in that place. So, Dennis, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Just had some nice pizza, some beer, so I'm all ready. I'm ready for this.
Yeah, good. All fueled up. So in the background there is probably one of the larger home collections I've seen. It's quite impressive, my friend. There's lots of different things. That I love the full-size Haro. I saw those at Gundam Base, and I was already maxed out with Kearn.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just take that, but it was just too big.
Just like wear it as a helmet.
Yeah, you could do, couldn't you? Like, yeah, just nurse all the way back, sort of thing. When we came back from Tokyo, I had like 2 bags in each hand, and I had my wife loaded up, and then I gave my daughter like 3, and kind of pushed my daughter through first. She's like 7, and I'm like, they're not going to take the bags from the kid. Like, come on, we'll get some. Yeah. So, yeah, as I alluded to, so you're a US citizen and you live and work in Japan. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to be in that situation, because like I said before, most people will be like, man, this dude's living the dream. Like he gets to come home if he wants to, and yet he gets to live in that little bit of paradise, the Gunpla paradise. Tell us a bit about your lifestyle and how it sort of all works out.
Okay. Well, there's kind of 2 different phases to this because I did come out here in 2011 to 2013, and that's actually when I did start the YouTube channel, and I actually got into Gunpla. I seen Gunpla for probably like the second time. I experienced it back in the States with Gundam Wing, like most North Americans. But coming out here in 2011, I really just really enjoyed something that can really tie me kind of more into my room and not force me to go out there and drinking and doing a whole bunch of craziness. Even though I did do that anyways, but it kind of allowed me to save a little money.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I basically started doing Gunpla builds, and then I started watching YouTubers do it. So I watched Robert 184, I watched Prime 92, Too Old for Toys, a lot of different YouTubers at the time, and it really motivated me to start in 2011 to create my channel, which is still going on as TheKrowSama. But at that time, I had a lot of great friends, a lot of peers that built Gunpla with me. Some I forced them to, and then some they just kind of naturally got into the hobby.
You mean like buddies you work with and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Pretty much all guys were either Navy or Marines that I worked with.
Yeah. And you're a Marine, is that correct?
Yes. So I'm still currently in the United States Marine Corps. Been in for about 12 years now. So, yeah, just 8 more years and I'm finished the golden line.
Oh, really? So like 20 years is it's like a big pension or something at the end of it?
Yeah, that's the earliest you can actually retire. So once I get to that point, I'll be receiving a retirement pay, which is 50% of my base pay per month.
Okay.
And it's going to be a pretty penny, just to at least help me out.
Yeah.
You know, so these next 8 years is kind of dedicated to what my path is going to be, whether it's videography, photography, advertisement, anything that's going to be kind of more dealing with, you know, Gunpla and the relationships around it.
Yeah, cool, cool. And you there on your own, or you have a family there?
Yeah. So when I was here in 2011, I was by myself, and you know, I met my current wife when I was here back in 2011, July 4th. Actually, I was on vacation, and we was kind of chatting it up, and we met on July 4th when I had vacation, and yeah, we've been together since, you know, for about 7 years now. But we was just boyfriend and girlfriend. She lived very far, so during those times that I was not able to go see her, I was always, you know, in the barracks room making, you know, videos, building Gunpla, and just being repetitive on that end.
Yeah, yeah. So she's a Japanese national, is she?
Correct.
Oh, okay, cool. So you kind of you got your foot in the door there. So that would have been it's okay. So then eventually you guys got married, and was this like, did she go back to the States and then you came back and lived in Japan, posted back to Japan, or how did that all sort of work?
So when I left here in 2013, she stayed here because we were engaged, but you know, there's a lot of things that I needed to take care of. So I had orders to come back to the States, and then immediately I deployed to Afghanistan for 7 months. And during that time frame, we just kept talking. You know, we didn't really like try and push anything about marriage. We just really enjoyed that. You know, we can test out our relationship status. So saying, hey, you know, we're not physically together, we're countries apart, but let's go ahead and see how far we can actually make this last. And sure enough, you know, there was no problems between us. You know, arguments here and there, of course, when it comes to long distance, but ultimately, we decided to go ahead and get married in 2015. So early 2016, in February, she came out to the States on a visa, and she just stayed out here. We got married immediately, and then started our process for her to go ahead and get her green card.
Yeah. Yeah, cool, man.
So,
that's beautiful because of Gunpla and the Marines. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's good. Okay, and so do you mind me asking what your role is in the Marines?
So my essentially food service specialist, but my main billet is mess hall manager. What that means is I run a dining facility that serves all the personnel, both military and then for special occasions, civilians. So we feed them at my dining facility. And at my chow hall in particular, there's not too many Marines that work under me. I currently have about 5 Marines that work for me, vice the other chow halls, which they may have about 10 to 12 that work, you know, for the manager there. So it's majority Japanese personnel that work for me. So I'm constantly always talking to the Japanese cooks, the workers, all the mess attendants, and basically just instructing them on what my expectations are, and just, you know, being a manager essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So do you speak pretty fluent Japanese?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Very elementary Japanese, to be honest.
Please, thank you. And yeah, okay. So
I could hold some conversations, but
so they speak more, or they understand a bit more English than you do Japanese, and that's how it all gets done. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Cool. And so it was probably like, was it the second time you came back that you really got into Gunpla, or had you already sort of caught the bug? Oh, yeah. Let's nail that down.
Yes. Yeah, so for the first time I came out here, I really got into it, and it was kind of that, like, I would say just the remedy for homesickness, because I constantly did want to go back home, even though I really wanted to stay out there. But it's one of those kind of like, you know, one thing is really amazing to have, but there's such a huge consequence, and it's on the same side of the fence. So I could have been back in the States with the family, and then just, you know, really enjoy my friends and family, but then I wouldn't have the luxury of being in what I would consider probably one of the top 5 greatest countries, just for the fact that the culture is amazing, the people is very friendly, ease of access to transportation, and so on and so forth. And obviously Gunpla is pretty much up there. But yeah, it was a great time, my first time out here. And then I went back to the States for about, I think it was 5 years. I was back in the States on recruiting duty, and I was, you know, deployed. And when I was on recruiting duty, I talked to the monitor, which is the person that kind of plugs in people where they're going to go. And I just like said, hey, I really would love to go back to Iwakuni, and kind of did a little drug deal. Hey, I'll help you out, scratch my back. And
I get just some extra beans at dinner and stuff or something like that.
Absolutely. So, he guaranteed me and my wife to come out here to Iwakuni. And I say as soon as I came out here, I hit the ground running with my YouTube channel again, even though I kind of started back up when I was in the transit of leaving the States. When I came out here, it was kind of like full-fledged. I started ordering more supplies, better lighting, better equipment overall. And, right now, it's been I'll say about 9 months since I've been out here. And 7 months since I've been out here. And I think the longest time I haven't made a video was like maybe 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
So I'm just constantly just pushing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I'm gonna put up some of your painted builds, and as you and I have discussed, it's about a 20-second delay, so you get to see about 20 seconds, and maybe just sort of share with us a little bit, like what. See, for me, I'm a Universal Century guy. It's just where I came in. It's just the guys that I met, and they kind of got me into watching that, and I started from the beginning. And I guess for me, there's just that real fighting war machine. Everybody has their own thing. Some people are just pure 00 guys. So as I flick through your images here, just maybe share this kind of where your real heart is in the whole Gunpla, whether you take it all or whether you find yourself leaning towards certain stuff, and what gets you sort of excited.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Yeah, when it comes to it looks like, okay. So the first model, this is something I built in 2017. I think it was roughly around March. I bought all of the old 1-in-100 Gundam wing kits because I never had the 1-in-100 kits when I was a kid, and I just really wanted Ultron. It's my favorite mobile suit, the TV version. Then second favorite mobile suit is going to be the Nataku from the OVA series. But I went ahead and painted it up, did as much detailing as I can just to kind of bring it, a little bit more to life and kind of add a little bit more color and a little bit more vibrant. Now, this one being the high-grade Leo, which recently came out. I didn't fully paint this. I just kind of painted up some details and then essentially just, do some weathering to it and some just minor details. And then this one being the Vrabe, it's a high-grade new Gundam, which is a off-brand. I think it's HCM model, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I built this one when I was in California in 2015. I was actually in school for recruiting duty, and just went ahead and painted it in the colors the Majin made when he was a kid. Actually, the pictures are going pretty fast. I don't know if you
I was
tracking that.
Sorry, I was scrolling through before, so you just keep up. You can just tell us roughly about your whole Gundam sort of lifestyle, though. I guess because I've already been through. I'm ahead of time, literally ahead of you. So, so just tell us. I guess
gotcha.
I'll just flick through the picture, just ignore them, and just kind of tell us more about where your heart sort of lies in Gundam, and do you spread your wings a bit just so that you feel like you cover it all, or do you keep drawn back to certain timelines or whatever?
I would say my favorite Gundam series has to be 8th MS Team, but the problem with that is there's not a lot of updated models when it comes to 8th MS Team. There's still a lot of good models in the high grade and master grade forms, but I'm kind of more waiting for the 2.0s. But when it does come to the universe, I'll probably say my favorite only because it spans so large of different storylines and characters, and it's kind of hard to say Universal Century is not the best of all the universes. However, I would say my more linear storyline is my favorite one's going to be Age, just because I came into Gundam for the second time with Age being a new release, and I just loved everything about the series. Maybe not the third part. I don't really care about I think it was Kyo's story arc, but I like Flint. He was one of my favorite protagonists. It's more a child story, but Gundam Age just definitely had character designs and mobile suit designs I really loved. Now, so the Gundam Unicorn that's up right here, the Phoenix Narrative. This is one of my more recent builds that this is actually my first airbrush kit.
Right.
So I just wanted to try some different techniques with it. So there's a lot of like the multicolor on it. So the white parts, if you kind of shine it in the light, it actually turns blue. So it kind of doesn't look good when it's on a camera like this. But like a lot of the white, when you're shifting it'll turn blue with that.
Mm.
And yeah, just it was kind of more of a practice piece for the airbrush, essentially.
Yeah. So how did you find the Phoenix? Because it gets so much like mixed reviews. People, oh, the tails are stupid.
Hmm.
And no one's really actually seen it in battle apart from the trailers and things like that. As a kit and as a model, like, could you put it there? Like, I mean, even as the unicorn itself, I mean, it can look a
Hmm.
bit silly sometimes. But I've got a couple now. I've got an RG, a HG in destroy mode, and I've just recently got like an MG, which transforms and stuff. And I'll be honest, like, I can put it there and go, that actually looks like a pretty brutal mobile suit. I can see
Hmm.
what actually works. So the Phoenix, how did you feel about that once you'd sort of built it up and played with it a bit?
Oh, I loved it. I think ever since 2000, I want to say 14 is when the Phoenix first got announced. Because it was a part of that little OVA short over at Gundam Base Tokyo.
Yeah, with
So,
the seconds of the Stein and a few other things going on
mhm.
and stuff. Almost like they knew what was coming. They sneaky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And it's such a simple design. Like, I mean, all you have is the DE armor, uh, basically the shields on the backpack, and that was essentially it. And the V fin was just a little different. And I'm like, that's enough to make me absolutely love it with the gold paint job and the blue
mm,
cycle frame. So I love the unicorn. I love everything about it, and I can kind of feel the distent that people have when it comes to like oversaturation of the unicorn.
yeah.
And I'm just kind of like in that majority of that. I just really want to see more. Maybe not the same exact mold, because I think the high grade mold is extremely outdated now.
Mm,
And that's what the Unicorn Phoenix narrative version still borrows from.
yeah,
So
right.
it's
You
a
just
good
sorry.
it's a good kit, but a lot of the joints are just not that good.
Yeah, the HD one for me, I think it was like, say the second kit I built, and it's just like the way the arms were just plugs. You play with enough, and after moving the arms,
Hmm.
just sort of fall off and things like that. And I guess it's that first thing you learn is, everything has its, it's a HG, and you start to, because when you first start, you're like high grade. Wow, that sounds pretty intense, and then you discover high grades
Hmm.
like the bottom, and you're like, what? This doesn't make any sense at all. And then and then a master grade. My first was a master grade.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't that tricky, so it takes a little while to kind of understand what the grades really mean. They're more about the quality of
Yeah.
the kit as opposed to how much it takes to put them together. You get the people going, should I start a master grade or a high grade first? Or it's like, dude, I don't know, just go and get an RG and read instructions and stuff it all together. Like
Yeah.
each of them is just a little journey that's slightly different. It's like a thick book or a thin book.
Hmm.
If you can read, just get a book. Any book will do. So yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Can you see this little sort of purpley? Is it like a Nightingale SD or something?
Yeah, so this is the SD Cross Silhouette Nightingale. This is one of the first three SD Cross Silhouette kits that released. So as soon as I seen the line get announced, I immediately told myself I'm going to paint every single SD Cross Silhouette kit that comes out. So I still currently have every released kit, and I've only painted two so far, but this one was being the first. I tried a very unique like paint that was kind of like a multicolor, so it's like a bluish purple tint.
Kind of like
It's
alien
pretty.
in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I really liked it. So a lot of the parts are all hand painted. A lot of the white, all the yellow is hand painted. Just got some decals and threw some of those on there. But it was just something for me to try. I never painted a SD Gundam before, so it's a little bit more challenging than a high grade and a mass grade, for the sense that a lot of it is small details.
yeah.
But I think the result to me is a little more satisfying.
Mm. What's the because I've not really looked at it all, and for those of us that may not know much, what's the cross silhouette thing all about?
So the SD Cross Silhouette, it combines what just the normal SDs are, but it kind of ups the proportions with a inner frame, which is the Cross Silhouette frame. It essentially extends the shoulders, extends the torso, the legs, the arm joints. And that's usually the biggest things about it. I haven't seen it kind of get, past that. It's usually just the legs, arms, torso. But I think the proportions look amazing. And it's kind of like that one, I forgot that one third-party brand that made the it was like the Master Grade SD RX-78-2.
Right.
So they have to have gotten that idea from them, even though this idea has kind of already been done like ages and ages ago with people doing the SDs with the high grades.
Yeah.
But with people like me that just never had the motivation to do an SDX high grade custom, this is something very perfect.
Yeah, I was actually pretty amazed because when we went to Japan in February, March this year, and I built my first kit the day after Christmas, so last year sort of thing. So it was literally 8-12 weeks of Gunpla, and I was just totally blown away. And it was already built 8 kits and blah 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 blah. And when I got to Gundam Base Tokyo to see everything on display, but I was probably most amazed by the amount of SD stuff that was there. There was rows and rows of SD, and there was cabinets of so much SD. I was like, this is for the 7-year-olds or the 9-year-olds. I don't quite understand. But then you slowly realise there's people that take SD really seriously because of what you said, the intricacies, the challenge to painting. I think I did a Barbatos. He's around here somewhere just for the for Gunpla Network had that SD build off as an admin. I was like, I'll throw it in. But can you see the one here with the pink trimmings?
Yeah, the Zeta Gundam.
Yeah. This is, you can see the work you've done there with so the trimmings and the decals and stuff. And actually, is this a cross silhouette, because it has that similar, so it's a little bit more than just a little sort of chubby version of something.
Yeah. So when I made my review, I basically I showed both the the regular SD form, and I showed the cross silhouette form, and even the eyes are different because you basically switch out the eyes that has the more cartoony with the pupils.
Yeah.
But I don't like that, to be honest. That's never been it's never been my favorite type of eyes.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It's got its place where it sits in that kind of real anime style, but if you want to see something that's sort of been shrunken and made just slightly cute, but still looks tough in the face, that thing looks tough in the face. But if you had the googly eyes, you'd be like, it looks silly.
It works for the BB Senshi stuff, or maybe even for just build fighters. But for me, when I look at these SDs, I never played this game series, but it's the Wars one, the one that's usually on it's the little chibi Gundams and other mobile suits. I forgot what it's called, but it's the Super Robot Wars.
Oh yeah.
But I've always wanted to get into that game series, and I just never have. But I've been super into the little chibi designs, and that's another reason I really got into these. And I think these have a little bit more. There's a little more creativity that can come with these that always blows me away when I see different people building them, Vice high grades and master grades. Because granted, all of them are cool as well, but when I see someone putting max effort into an SD, I'm usually just completely astounded by the results of it.
Yeah, some of the ones that came through in the Gunpla Network comp were just quality builds. It doesn't matter whether it was an SD or a PG or whatever, Some really amazing thought and artistic skill went into a lot of those builds. Yeah. Can you see this here? This is a Gujon remake. Not much left of him there.
Yeah, it's always kind of chokes me out because that last episode was definitely emotional. I loved IBO. It was such a breath of fresh air from going from G-Rec, which I'm sorry, I absolutely hated it. And I watched the entire series. I watched it fully one time, and I started watching the first 20 episodes, for the second time. I couldn't give it a second chance. It had a bad taste in my mouth. Then come IBO, I just loved it. Second season maybe was a little bit weaker when it came to plot and just overall characters. But that final episode
you're invested with that first season. You had to see. Yeah, I mean, when I watched it, it was well and truly out, and it was all English translated and stuff. And I was hooked, and I won't lie that there was some pretty emotional moments, and I don't watch a lot of anime prior to ever watching Gundam. Like, I watched the original, Mobile Suit Gundam series, and it kind of 49 episodes is a lot, but something like then when I was watching that, and then into further in Universal Central, when this came out, I agree, it was just incredible TV. That really good Japanese drama, and these heroes. Yeah. There's another series on Netflix, I think it's the Kuro Mukuro or something, and they dig up this box thing. There's a guy who's kind of like a weak character, and he's almost like walking around the broom, and I recognise his voice, and I'm like, who's that voice? And it's Orca's voice, and I'm like,
oh, really?
He shouldn't be doing that, because it's like a hero, and now he's just doing this dude with a broom. He's like, almost like he was helping him out or something, Anyway, I digress. Yeah. I think that sums it up there, that build, doesn't it? It does get pretty messy in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I built this essentially, I would say about a week after the anime concluded. And I just wanted to do a diorama with this and the Rex. But I never got around to finishing it because once I started working on the diorama, I actually was packing all my stuff up to come to Japan. So I had to pack up all the tools I had and all like the little I had like grains of sand and everything packaged, and I had to pick it all up, and I just haven't picked it up yet. But I would say probably next year I'll go ahead and I'll start finishing up on the diorama.
Yeah, what's your prediction with? Was it like maybe 3 months ago there was the silhouette of the Barbatos-esque type mobile suit? Recall that coming out? So what's your prediction?
Well, I know they said that it's going to be a radio drama. They announced that, and they really hasn't been much word. I kind of seen some very small websites say something about a season 3, but the websites I don't think are very creditable. So I can't really take this. I just take it with a grain of salt, essentially. But if there is going to be a season 3, I would definitely love it to be a part of the Calamity War, or if it's going to be a whole different set of individuals that may have found maybe a whole different planet, and they found a relic of a mobile suit. Maybe there's a whole separate little event that kind of happened maybe before, during, or after the sequences of Mika.
Yeah, because that whole IBO thing is really, it's not the sort of plot that affects the future of mankind or anything. It's just what happened to them in their world and the way they all got mixed up in whatever. And you're right, it could be somewhere totally another planet, because they're like Mars, Earth, they're just kind of like a few days away. So yeah. Could be stuff. Yeah, or a prequel, like you said, like that'd be pretty rad to see it all kind of totally kind of go to shit and then pull it up. Everything ends up scattered, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
But that silhouette did look pretty bloody good. It was like Barbatos-esque, but there was like a sword and stuff, and you're like, I think there's a V fin, and you're like, oh my god, that just looks like. And when people do some nice Barbatos builds, and they kind of just mix it up, that's what they're aiming for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this one is the I cannot remember his name. It's the it's not Jagan. I know it's the Gundam X that Mao. Yeah, Gundam X Mao. That's what it's called. But I really love the character in Build Fighters. The character essentially like his first introduction is he goes into like this restaurant, and then like as payment for his food, he just builds a quick model, which I think was like out of the extreme. I think it was the Extreme Gundam. He just built it and like, hey, here it is, and they're like, oh my god, it's amazing. And I'm like, how does he get away with that? But yeah, Gundam X has always been one of my faves. It's one of those iconic suits, in my opinion, because it was another North American anime that came out, and ultimately, I love the color scheme. I love the firepower. This one is really worn though, because it moved 3 times in total. It moved once from Lejeune to Louisiana, and then from Louisiana to Mississippi, and now from Mississippi to here. So it's missing a piece right there on the rifle, and one of the fingers that's actually gripping the cannon, one of the fingers is missing, and there's a little bit of scratching on the paint, but it's not really visible. But yeah, it's a little bit worn, and I built this one back in 2014.
Yeah, Build Fighters was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think
I wish they would make a live action.
Yeah, I guess that'd be cool. I think people didn't quite realise how much fun, how much there was to take from build divers and build fighters until we got build divers, and all of a sudden people were like, oh wow, build fighters actually was pretty good.
Yeah,
we all,
exactly.
we all know why build divers is there, and that's fine. People whinged about it. I know some people that whinged about it and watched every single episode. I'm like, I watched the first three and it wasn't for me, and I've got other things at my time. And we all know why it's there, and that gives them resources. I mean, I always talk about stuff like some of those figure-eyes that they're doing, and they're doing like the flesh and stuff, and she's in her little yellow shorts, but they're doing like, like the outer part of a leg and then the inner part, and depending on the thickness of that plastic, the inner part color is actually toning and like pre-shading the leg to give that flesh.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be long before you don't have to. I mean, I'm about to pre-shade my first kit soon, but you won't have to pre-shade anything because the inner frame will be that color and the outside will be semi-opaque, and you'll just get this like depth of a kit that we've never seen before. I'm sure they've got some amazing prototypes. Are just like, if we let this out now, we've got to go so much further to keep getting better and better. For the consumer. So, anywho, Build Divers was Build Fighters was a bunch of fun, especially for me. I was watching Universal Century, and I was getting into Zeta, and it was getting really dark, and I was like, and so you watch a bit of Build Fighters in between to kind of like lighten it up a bit, and you learn a bit more. You'd see a suit and go, "What's that?" And I ask from my base, like, "Oh, it's the blah blah," and you're like, "Oh, right," it kind of brings it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let me know when you can see this next one come up. It's sort of purple. He's got a couple of big bladey rifle looking things.
Okay. Yeah, so this one is from the Gundam Build Fighters Amazing R. I think it's the Amazing R, but it follows the Meijin Kawaguchi. I think his real name is like Tetsuya. But it follows him when he was a kid and kind of like how he developed his interest into Gunpla, and then ultimately he goes and becomes the Meijin Kawaguchi the third. So his first suit that he picks up that he actually like invests in is the new Gundam, and he ultimately like loves the new, but he just cannot operate the little fin funnels. So he's like, hey, I'm just going to ditch the fin funnels, and it's going to be almost like a primary melee-oriented suit. So after I was reading the manga for quite a while, and I kind of just really love his take on this. So I went ahead and bought this third-party new Gundam. It has a lot of great details, but the plastic quality was pretty bad, and everything's spray-painted just before I really got into airbrushing. And then the Mercury, I think it's the Mercury Lev D. I can't remember if that's the one it is, but basically the Army switch knife that's on its arm. I basically spray painted it. I think I did a black, black, and then I just dry brush silver right over it to kind of give it more of a metal look. Yeah, and that was pretty much about it for this kit.
Yeah, it's neat. It's almost got the head's almost like a sort of a GPO2, facade or whatever. It's got those big open vents. Always kind of. Yeah. I see that one. I've got it down there. Always kind of reminds me of the Statue of Liberty for some reason because she's got the. But it's different. But yeah, there's another shot there with it all sort of tucked away. All right, we'll move along a little bit there. This one here with all the flames and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm so ignorant of anything that is Universal Century. Even then, I'm learning so much. So these are good, for some of us that are sort of getting into stuff. We get to a bit more education, especially from someone like yourself that's passionate about the kits and about the builds. Like all the story you've got, so much manga knowledge. It adds so much more to every single kit. I could look at this and go, "That's a bit odd," but you'll tell me about it, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. I like that. Like that last." A purple and white kit, but to know that little bit of backstory, you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. So can you see this one with all the flames coming off it?
Yep. So this is from the Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is I would just say it's a very loose sequel to Build Fighters. It kind of there's a couple of returning characters. Ultimately, it follows the new main character. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but it follows his storyline, and he finds the build I think it was just the build Burning Gundam, and then he basically upgrades it later on once it gets like really destroyed to the Burning Gundam or Burning Gundam. It's one of those names, which is this one, and I painted two of these, one with the blue flames, or one with the blue kind of like almost like Psycho internal armor, and then this one with the more explosive flames. And I built this one for the sole experience of trying to use nail polish. I found some nail polish that has like this nice Plesky particle kind of look to it, and I just brushed it on at like some of the base of the flames. So that's why like the tip of the flames is more just red, which in hindsight now I wish I would have did more of an orange hue that led up to the red. But I just went ahead and used the nail polish at the base of it to kind of give it more of the Plesky effect.
Cool. All right, what we got here? Moving along. Yeah, sort of black and red and purple. I feel so terrible. Almost looks a bit like a Mazinger, which is really catching my attention. I said I would never go outside Gundam. It's as nerdy as I will get. But the more Mazinger I see, the more curious I am about that whole thing. So,
oh, trust me, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have. I've got enough going on. I've got a few back there I want to get rid of, but yeah, there's something very kind of retro about the Mazinger. It's just got this real think back to there's an episode. It's like a 3-part series in Astro Boy where I think his name is Bison or something, and he's supposed to basically storm around the world just stomping on the best robots. And each episode he's sort of trash. He's got the big horns and he sort of does stuff like that. And Mazinger just reminds me of all that sort of stuff as a kid, So, anywho, let's chat about this one here.
So this one's just from Gundam Seed. It's the Blitz. Once again, I don't remember the pilot's name. Generally, like I know the pilots as I'm kind of engaged in that series during that time frame of my life, but I haven't seen Seed in probably about, I would say, 7 years so far. So yeah, a lot of the information is kind of gone. But yeah, I built the Blitz and painted it just in its normal colors. I think the original default purple that came with it was just very dull. So I just wanted to brighten up, and I just gave it's a brighter purple overall. So I painted, I primed white under it, and came out a little bit better.
It's sort of like, if that was an out-of-the-box kit, I'd say that's some of the best sort of colour separation I've seen. Like down around the feet there, you start from the bottom and work your way up, and you've got black, purple, the grey vents, and then into the sort of shin guards, you've got the red and the black. Are they all separate pieces, or is that a lot of your masking in there?
No, this is before I even thought about doing masking, but it's a master grade, so a lot of these parts are already completely separated. Doesn't really change. I just went ahead and took the parts, spray paint them. And the only reason I didn't get into airbrushing at this time in my life is because I lived in the barracks, and you can't do airbrushing in the barracks, like, because you can't have all those toxic chemicals. Even having spray paint was forbidden. But I just went ahead and hit it, and I just opened the window and spray outside. It was good.
It's like the Rebel.
Yeah.
Look at me spraying my robots. Sorry, Sergeant. I'm doing the best I can to get by here. So.
I was like, I'm not doing drugs. So
yeah, exactly right. Too bad. Give me 100. Yeah. All right. I guess one thing I sort of when I started talking to you and sort of watching your videos and thinking, man, this dude, like I touched on it before a couple of times, like this dude's living in Japan. He's a foreigner. Like I went to Japan and everybody was so polite and everybody's like, oh, how you going and what can I do for you? Obviously in their own sort of special way. And and then I know other people that have spent time in Japan for prolonged periods, whether it be 3 months or a year or 2, and they've sort of said, it's not that great once you start to look around, once you sort of settle in. There are some cons to being a foreigner in Japan. It's a very sort of closed off community. A lot of what you know about Japan is only because of what someone's told you and, a little bit of TV and stuff like that. So, and I guess for you also, you're in a very different situation so that you married a Chinese lady, so you've obviously got her family, a lot of influences there on how you are affected by Japanese culture. So, do you mind sort of just you sharing us about you live in the dream, or is there challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is kind of that illusion that this place is 100% magical, and you can like if you're depressed, you have anxiety back in the States, and you come here, that just goes away, and you have no issues whatsoever. There's obviously different levels of kind of unique situations when it comes to a person that lives out here. In my case, I'm military, so I have the comfort of being on an on-base installation. I don't really have to worry too much about housing because the military assists with that, and I have kind of like a centralized little community that I can go ahead and talk to, and I'll have peers. Yeah. Now, you have a person like I would say, let's just say my case, if I was not in the military and I came here and I lived in a Japanese community that is away from all military, and I just worked with Japanese all day, I can definitely see the stress, especially if you don't know enough Japanese to really carry on a full-on conversation. But I'll just say from my own unique situation, I do enjoy it, and I do a lot of things out here on my own. It was a lot different when I was out here by myself, but with my wife, she works a lot, and she's not always into the same hobbies as I am, which I don't fault her for that. But if we go out, a lot of times it's more just like I'm kind of dragging her to the Gunpla shops and the toy shops, and then she's not really dragging me to the clothes shops. I'll look around at clothes as well. I don't really mind. But we have conflicting interests at times. But there's a lot of the it's kind of weird because in the States, I can go up to someone that's in a hobby shop and that's just kind of like eyeballing a model. And I can say, hey man, like you're into Gundams, and we can instantly start a friendship right then and there. And I've done it plenty of times. Come out here, I've probably did this about 10 times in total. But I would go up to a Japanese guy and say, oh, kore wa honto sugoi desu ne, and he's just like looking at me like I'm a complete like monster or something. And I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to just start a conversation, just maybe inform me about the model, because like, hey, I reviewed this model. If you want to check out my channel, or hey, if you want to talk about it, I can give you the pros and cons. But they don't want to talk to people like that just in public. They want to do their own thing and be kind of more secluded. But yeah, I would say it just depends on you. I still enjoy going out to like Hiroshima or any other city, and I'll go around shopping by myself because my wife, she'll be working on Saturdays. So I go out, I'll do some shopping, get some nice food, and take the train right back, get in my car, come back home, and bam, good day.
Yeah. I'd never, those that have got wives and girlfriends and stuff, and you go out to the shopping centres with them and they can just do it for hours. Like my wife's great at shopping, and she often will not even buy a thing. She just loves looking around and looking at this and looking at that. And it wasn't until I started getting the Gunpla that I actually experienced what it's like to shop. Because as a guy, I'm kind of like, my fashion is just, it's more about like function over form. I don't wear bright colours, so I'm like, I need some shorts for training. All right, let's go get some shorts. There's some shorts. They should be bigger or they should be smaller. It's very easy, When it came to Gunpla, I was like, I actually walked into a store and I had 2 kits under my arm and I'm walking around. I want that one. And I'm this like 44-year-old dude sort of like cross-legged on the floor with this 3 kits going, which one? And then like when I went to Japan and we went to... We landed at Osaka in the middle of the night, and then we got up and we stayed right near the back gate of Universal Studios. And there's like a little sort of duty-free store in like a chemist and all sort of stuff. And it had like, it wasn't very big. It was the size of an average, the section was the size of an average bedroom, and it was just Gunpla. And my wife, oh, that robot stuff. I just went up to get some lip gloss stuff, and I'm like out the door and up there, and I was like,
yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I'd never seen so much in my life. And then as time went on, and we went to, I found, Mandarake, and then we went to Akihabara and stuff, and it's just like, it just gets more and more as you find these treasure troves. And even just walking around, it was the first time I could actually just experience shopping, And even Gundam Base Tokyo, like, lots of guys that went to the previous one, and they're like, it's different, it's more of a shop now, but... when you get there and you see all the kits built up and lined up, it really has an impact on you, and you really can because box art is beautiful, and you guys do great reviews, but sometimes there's aesthetics that only you can experience, and they'll trigger you. There's kids that I build, and I'm like, whatever, I'll pick it up because it's a cheap HG, and next thing you're like, wow, that's really great. So yeah, unless you can get to one of those stores and experience it. I'm actually my family and I are going to the US next year. We're just doing the West Coast. So as time progresses, I'm going to try and find out where these little kind of like hidden stores with Gunpla at the West Coast. I'm not going to get the deals like I got in Japan, but it's still going to be great just to rock up. And like you said, just go, hey, I'm from Australia. I'm into Gunpla. And I expect to go, oh, how you going? You know, like, what do you do? And yeah. So you're in Japan now for like 9 months. How much longer do you think you'll get to stay there?
I'm here for a total of 3 years, but we can do an Epcot extension, which basically doubles your original contract. So I can stay here for about 3 more years, total of 6. And you can also do like PSAs. So I can actually change from my unit that is in Iwakuni to another unit that's in Iwakuni, and then restart a whole new contract. A lot of people, a lot of married couples in particular, are not favorable of coming to Japan. And actually a lot of Marines in general they don't know what Iwakuni is. They think they know Okinawa because Okinawa is very famous for the military. There's I'll say 12 or 14 different bases on Okinawa. So a lot of Marines, they just instantly think Okinawa, that's Japan. But it's like here we have two main Marine Corps bases in mainland Japan, which is Camp Fuji, and then over here in Iwakuni. And then we got a couple of Marines scattered around to other bases. That's Air Force and then Navy. But yeah, I'm going to try and stay here as long as I can. I only have 8 more years of my contract. So with my wife, gonna soon, we're going to have a child. So with that, I'm like, I would prefer us to stay here as long as we can to keep my child in Japan. Yeah, it'd be cool to bring him to the States, but then I'm taking him away from, his friends and kind of like the culture he's already very much accustomed to.
Wow. That's a lot of foresight. Yeah, I'm just going to have a look at, just sort of flick through your page. What sort of other stuff do you get into? Because there's quite a bit on the back wall there, but you get outside Gunpla, like we sort of touched on the Mazinga stuff. Is there other stuff that you do? Yeah,
I would say the next main hobby, I would just say Pokemon. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Pokemon is a full-time hobby, and it actually Pokemon is above Gunpla. The only reason that I do more of Gunpla is because it's kind of tethered into my channel. But I actually created my YouTube channel in December of 2010 due to the fact that I was going to actually do a complete Pokemon channel. So doing like different Wi-Fi battles, doing playthroughs, and I actually did a couple of playthroughs on my second channel, which is dead, but I had a gaming channel that was dedicated to Pokemon back in 2012. So Pokemon is just a really big part of my life. I love everything about it. I play Pokemon Go actively every single day. Haven't skipped a beat, so just every time I go out, if I do anything, I have Pokemon Go on. And then currently the Pokemon Let's Go games are coming out on the Switch. I'm actually taking a week vacation from YouTube and I'm playing Pokemon Let's Go. I'm not building any Gunpla. I'm just going to play those games for a week.
Committed. That is so committed. Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm a 90s kid, so...
Yeah. Well, I was... 80s kid, I guess. It was more Transformers. I never really got into it. And it's like I got a 7-year-old daughter. Yeah, I'm interested in the whole concept. I've just recently bought I get into like working with Raspberry Pis, and emulation and stuff. And I recently bought it's like a kind of like a rebooted Game Boy, but it runs like a RetroPie in it. And on that, I can run GBA games. So I just started playing like the original Pokemon Green, and just got some mates at work, and they're like, yeah, you go here and do this and do that. And it's for something to it's so classic, just sit on the couch, just tapping away, just fighting rats in grass and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah. So
I still have I have every hard copy of every Pokemon main title that released. So I don't have green because it's Japanese only, but I do have blue, red, yellow. I have every single cartridge I have the original Game Boy, the Game Boy Color Pikachu edition, Game Boy SP Pikachu edition. So I keep all these relics because I'm so much of a Pokemon fanatic, and I try and I keep that passion, especially like when I have a kid. Like that kid's gonna learn what Pokemon is. I don't care. I'm gonna sit him down like, all right, start playing Pokemon Blue. All right, you finished that? Pokemon Red. He's like, Daddy, please.
Yeah, enough of the Pokemon. We bought my daughter bought a couple of like trainer packs, like the Sun and Moon stuff. We wanted the classic stuff, the Pikachu and all that sort of stuff, but my daughter's actually in a bilingual class, so that's predominantly English, but they learn Japanese as well. And the two teachers that share the class, they're both very experienced. Been in Japan plenty of times. So that was one of the catalysts as to why we went to Japan. I mean, I've been wanting to go for years. Telling my wife, I'd great, love to go. And next thing you know, my 6-year-old daughter says, "I'd like to go to Japan." My wife's like, "Sure, let's go." I'm like, the hell, you know. So we tried to play a bit of it. It's just not quite. There's just the terrain and stuff, but it's fun. We definitely enjoy it. Yeah, right. Pokemon. We went to the Pokemon Center in Tokyo. We were kind of like, when you first get there, it's a little bit underwhelming, and I thought this would be like huge, but then once you sort of get inside, you kind of get around, and it's packed. It's sort of like the busiest shop in that entire center. So it was.
Yeah, and there's always like nice little like events going on. Like they usually like distribute like in-game Pokemon for the DS games, or they'll have like different tournaments for the card games that's held over there. So I go to the one that's over in Hiroshima once a month, and there's always an event every weekend.
Yeah, right. There was plenty of dudes just sort of standing around outside with DSs and stuff, just outside the store. I was like, oh, they must be playing that Go thing. My daughter and I played it for about 3 days because with the old man stuff, you can kind of you're chasing he's around the backyard. It was a bit fun, but I must have didn't get me quite like it's got you. That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, as soon as Pokemon released back in the I think it was '97, it released for us in the States. Like I instantly got addicted. I saved all my money, got a Game Boy. Well, actually, I already had a Game Boy for my grandma. But I bought the cartridge, and that was it. That was smooth sailing from there.
yeah. And then this damn Gundam got in the way and slowed you down a tiny bit. Yeah. What would be your kind of like putting all the Gundam and Pokemon and stuff aside? What would be your sort of favorite aspect of waking up in Japan on a Sunday morning and saying, "I'm going to do something that makes me feel like I really love being here"? It just reminds me of how what sort of stuff do you guys do?
So it varies month to month. We generally try and do something new. So we'll go to like different little cities. We have Otake, which is a little bit north from here. We have Miyajima, which is a very beautiful island. And it has that, that historic little, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a little shrine. But it's kind of like in the middle of the ocean. And it's one of those like more iconic pictures that you see from Japan. Yeah. But we go there, and it's like there's always something new to do over there. They have like the wild deer that roam around, and you could feed the deer and pet them and all that. I've been to Tokyo 2 months ago. I went back just to go and explore. Went to Odaiba, got to see Unicorn and everything. I'm talking to my wife right now. I would like to go to back to Fukuoka come not this weekend but next weekend, just for us to go and do something before the baby's born. Because I like Fukuoka, very very nice little area to go and explore.
You're having a baby like real soon, like within the next month?
No, March.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. But then you don't want to travel too much either,
Yeah, but well, plus probably less than a month after my kid's born, I actually am going to be going back to Okinawa because I got to do some training. So that's why I was kind of like, I want to do a lot of things now because once the kid's born, I have about 2 weeks with the kid, and then I have to leave for 2 months, and then when I come back, I got work and everything.
That's military, hey.
Yeah.
You just get shoved around. Like when I was in nearly 10 years. I moved 6 times in 10 years, and I met my wife in the army, and I had so many mates that, like, I got mates that had 3 kids, and 2 of them were born while they were overseas, deployed. So couldn't do it. So we got out. I mean, we just weren't as committed as you were, as far as there's not the same sort of deal. And when it was time for us, we're like, we want to have kids. Let's get out of here. So,
yeah.
we can only serve one master, so to speak.
Exactly.
The job was going to be it, sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to see the monkeys that sit in the hot water in the springs up in the snow?
No, where's that at?
Oh, I don't know. I saw it on some David Attenborough thing. If you look it up, there's like it's like a day trip. You can jump on a train and go way out. Then you go out in a bus, and they
Oh, okay.
yeah, mostly during winter. And like if you look at you look them up on YouTube, and they're just kind of like baboons. It's like it's all snow and ice, and they're just sort of sitting in these hot springs, going, "This is the life," yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. How did you find food and stuff when you sort of first got there, and like now? I mean, in your mess, do you serve like sort of local traditional food, or do you serve more Western food?
In the chow hall, we kind of mix it up, but it's primarily Western dishes. We do serve a couple of Japanese dishes like sukiyaki, yakiniku, curry, but it's primarily all Westernized. Not all of it's completely from scratch. We do have a couple of things that's prepackaged, but for the most part, when we cook different types of beef, chickens, seafood, it's all completely fresh and from scratch.
And do you enjoy Japanese food?
Oh, I absolutely love it. Me and my wife, we always eat Japanese food. We're either eating okonomiyaki, takoyaki. I do love sukiyaki. Anything with a E at the end, I'm like, let's go ahead and get that.
Yeah, we kind of struggled a tiny bit. I mean, we were only there for 2 weeks, so we're like, yeah, we'll do what we can. After about 4 or 5 days of sort of eating like ridiculously delicious food, but we were just hanging for a steak and some chips. We found bistro places here and there. We actually we had a lot of McDonald's for breakfast because it's a bacon and egg muffin, and it's pretty consistent. And just for when you got a 6-year-old, you got to kind of you got to try and keep things as normal as possible. That's what I would say to anybody that was going to travel. If you've got kids, you're going to take over a suitcase. It's going to come back full of Gunpla. So what you put in the suitcase, like a lot of your child or your wife or your own sort of snacks, chocolate bars and things, they'll get you through that first week or two until you sort of find out. Like my wife likes a bit of lemon in a bit of hot water in the morning. We couldn't find a lemon in Tokyo for like a week.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and we were in like those shops and like kind of like bars, and there'd be lemons up there, and we're like, if we can just buy the lemon, and we're like, oh, it's probably not the right thing to do. It's crazy. So yeah, that sort of stuff is challenging. Yeah. All right. I really appreciate you sort of being open and sharing with us, what it's like to Japan. I'm sure lots of people would love to be there. I'm sure, lots of people would say it's great, but it has its challenges. What are your sort of your plans? So you said before you've got your plan with your career, and then you're sort of looking to get out and maybe into videography and stuff. Do you feel, and obviously once a child turns up, it's sort of things just, plans of mice and men, it's all going to probably change. But where do you see yourself going? Because you're putting a lot of work into the YouTube, every 2 or 3 days. What are you really pushing at the moment in that aspect?
So I've kind of reassessed what I'm going to be doing for college. I was going to Ashford University for a few years for English educational studies. Basically, I wanted to be an English teacher when I came out here, actually long before I met Sachiko. So my whole plan was to become an English teacher and just live out here and kind of just live the day-to-day life of a little foreigner that happens to teach English. And I did a lot of volunteer work. So when I would go to like the little schools over here and just play with the kids or teach them English or just, kind of like assist with some of the daily activities. I absolutely loved it. So that really fueled my passion to want to stay out here. However, I deployed and I stopped my my college, my higher education. And fast forward now, I'm reassessing what I'm going to do for college. And I really want to do something that involves film, but I'm so much of an amateur that I really need more of a maybe a guided assistance to really perfect my craft. I do a lot of things that is actually more personal, so I'll try and make some videos and do a lot of editing, and I won't show it to anyone. I don't show it to my wife. I don't show it to like my friends. It's more of like my personal assessment. So I would love to do something that operates with a camera. I don't really care too much about photography. kind of just more like, the videography aspect. If not, I really want to do something that just is being a spokesperson for Gunpla. That's definitely going to be hard because I think a lot of people are already established with their personnel. Hobby Link Japan being one of the companies I would love to work for. I watch their YouTube channel all the time, and I'm like, I can see myself, being a co-host on that channel or just doing something, maybe like side kind of, different types of videos on the side when, outside they're doing their main reviews and talks. Maybe I can do something that can assist the overall channel or assist with the social media aspect. Because I try and do as much social media as possible. I try and run my Instagram, my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and I can't push myself past my limits because 8 to 10 hours of my day, even sometimes about 14 of my hours a day, is spent for work and my wife. So if I can take 8 hours of that and just dedicate that to Gundams, I mean, my whole channel will be completely revolutionized. All my ideas can actually be put into effect.
Yeah, man, you just like explode. Oh, well, if the Hobby Link Japan guys are watching, come and check this guy out.
Especially Todd.
Yeah, Todd. Yeah, it's sure. I don't know, I guess you maybe put together a bit of a demo reel and stuff, and some of that stuff that you kind of don't share, maybe it's, just mock it up and roaming reporter or whatever and sort of send it out to me. You just never know your luck, hey? Like you seem like the sort of person that you envisage what you want and you're very casual and you just, there's people that say you think it and it's going to happen. Who knows, man? Who knows? You got 6 years if you play your cards right to kind of nail it. So who knows?
That's the plan. Cause I already told my wife the last 2 years that I'm in the Marine Corps, it's like I'm completely phasing my mind out of the Marine Corps life and aspect. I'm really trying to focus on what can I do after the Marine Corps to at least bring in, just a little bit of extra money on top of the retirement pay.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm trying to do is I think even without getting a hefty amount of pay from maybe a company or even from like YouTube or other social media platforms, I can still survive because I have money I save to the side. I got certificates, IRAs, and everything that I invest in. But when it comes to like having a little bit extra that I could put into what I'm doing for YouTube, that's the money I would actually like. Is hey, if this person's gonna give me an extra like $500 per month just for like assisting them, I can just redirect that into things I can perfect in the channel. So,
yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So much passion. Love to see it. Love to see it. And that was one of the reasons why I asked, would you come and sit with me and chat and share a bit of yourself with us? Because I think I've predominantly interviewed people that are placed at GBWC and excellent builders and stuff like that. But sometimes we forget about the other aspects of the community, which is just the rest of us. Like the guys like yourself that are sort of pushing it in a different direction and sort of dragging it here. And there's a million reviews out there. There's a million unboxings. But there's some people like yourself that have a bit more passion and you have a little more going with your Instagram and sharing your lifestyle as much too. Sometimes I probably don't look around as much as I should, but I still sometimes think that some people get a bit wrapped up in the whole I've just got to do this, and if you're not masking, you're not using 7 shades, and you're not doing it right, and often just that meditative, just snapping up a kit can just be so relaxing when the rest of your world is so thick, and I get really sad when I see people just get so sad because they're pushing themselves so hard all the time, just to build a simple kit. Cool. Mate, I really appreciate your time. Fortunately, our time zone is like an hour apart, so we haven't had to disrupt each other too much. That's really handy. And I really wish you all the best with your plans. And if I don't speak to you, I may not speak to you like this, but we'll probably be in touch, come March. And it's going to be an exciting time for you. So I hope everything goes sweet between now and then. You need to do as much building, as much videos. You might have to build up like 6 months worth of videos so that when that happens, you've still got stuff to trickle out. I don't know, get some early samples or something somehow for reviews. And I'll just give you an opportunity to. I'll just bring up your page here. It's got a lot of your links. But just give us in your own words where you can be found and how people can keep up with the beast the online beast that is TheKrowSama.
Okay. Well, first, I definitely want to, extend my thanks to you and to Nick and all of Gunpla Network for inviting me out here to talk on your platform and just kind of like express my story and everything. Very appreciative of that. Now, my social media platforms, I do have Facebook right here, which is actually called Little Big Gunpla, but it's at TheKrowSama. So if you type in TheKrowSama, you should be able to find it. But I don't really use this as much. I do try and like make a few posts here and there. But I've kind of dwindled a little bit from Facebook, and I'm now moving more towards Instagram and Twitter. So my Twitter handle is TheKrowSama, and it has a space with TL40. But if you just type in TheKrowSama, you'll be able to find it on Twitter. My Instagram is just KrowSama, but I do a lot of like, what do you call it, the hashtags. I do a lot of hashtags, TheKrowSama. So if you just type in TheKrowSama in the search, you should be able to find at least one of my posts. And then obviously my YouTube is TheKrowSama. So I do a lot of different polls on my channels or my platforms to ask different questions to get community feedback. I also upload a lot of different pictures, work in progress, and eventually I'm gonna start moving over to tutorials. So once I get a little bit more comfortable, with my painting skills and just the different techniques, then I'll start doing more tutorials. So I would say maybe you look out in the next couple of months for things that are like how to do shading, how to do maybe etching, and different other techniques that involves with painting.
Brilliant, nice. All right, buddy, no worries.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, we appreciate you coming in. It's nice to have friendly faces around. It's nice to remember that the community isn't, as bitchy as some people get caught in these little corners. It's actually really friendly. And when you sort of remember how good each other can be, and influencing each other, then it's a great place to be. So, mate, thank you very much. We'll be in touch, and all the best for you and your family. And we'll be watching for those tutorials. And all the best. Thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you.